I used to believe that if two people truly loved each other, they would always find a way to stay together. I don't believe that anymore, because sometimes someone can love you with their whole heart and still have to leave. Her name was Olivia Bennett, and she loved me until goodbye. It started on an ordinary Monday morning in Boston, Massachusetts. I had stopped at a small coffee shop near Beacon Hill before heading to work. It was snowing outside. I was standing in line, half asleep, when someone bumped into me from behind. My coffee spilled all over my coat. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." I turned around. A woman with blonde hair and the most nervous smile I had ever seen was standing behind me. She looked embarrassed. "I swear I wasn't trying to attack you with coffee," I laughed. "It's okay, I've survived worse." She smiled. "Good, because I'd hate for our first meeting to end in the emergency room." I remember laughing again. I didn't know her name yet. I didn't know where she lived. I didn't know what she did for a living. I didn't know that she would become the most important person in my life. Her name was Olivia. She was 27 and worked as a graphic designer for a small advertising company in Cambridge. I was Daniel Parker, a financial analyst who spent most of his days staring at numbers and pretending I enjoyed it. Olivia was completely different from me. She loved music. I loved silence. She talked to strangers. I avoided them. She believed every bad day could be fixed with ice cream. I believed bad days were just bad days, but somehow we worked. After that morning, I kept seeing her at the coffee shop. Sometimes we talked for 5 minutes, sometimes for an hour. Eventually, she started saving me a seat. One morning, I walked in and saw her sitting by the window. She pointed at the chair across from her. "Your seat." I smiled. "You've officially assigned me a seat?" "Yes." "What if I don't want it?" She shrugged. "Then I'll give it to someone else." I sat down immediately. She laughed. That was how it began. Not with fireworks, not with some perfect romantic moment, just coffee, snow, two strangers, and a chair by the window. A few weeks later, Olivia asked me to dinner. We walked through downtown Boston after we ate. The streets were covered in snow. She suddenly stopped. "What?" I asked. She looked at me. "Do you ever wonder where your life is going?" "All the time." "Are you happy?" I thought about it. "I don't know." She smiled. "That's a terrible answer. What about you?" She looked toward the lights across the street. "I want a life that feels like something." "What does that mean?" "I don't know yet." Then she looked at me. "Maybe I'll figure it out with the right person." I smiled. "Maybe." She took my hand. That night, I knew I was falling in love with her. And I think she knew too. Over the next year, Olivia became part of everything. Sunday mornings, late-night phone calls, grocery shopping, movie nights, random road trips. She knew when I was upset before I said anything. She knew exactly how I liked my coffee. She knew which songs could make me smile. And she knew that whenever I was scared, I became quiet. One night, we were sitting on the floor of my apartment eating takeout. Olivia looked at me. "Daniel?" "Yeah? Do you think we'll always be together?" I smiled. "I hope so." She frowned. "That's not the answer I wanted." "What answer did you want?" She moved closer. "I wanted you to say yes." I looked into her eyes. "Yes." She smiled. "Yes what?" "Yes, Olivia." She kissed me, and for a moment I believed nothing could ever separate us. 2 years later, I proposed. It was at the Boston Public Garden. There were lights hanging from the trees. The pond was frozen. People were walking around us, but I barely noticed anyone. I got down on one knee. Olivia covered her mouth. "Daniel, I've spent most of my life thinking happiness was something you had to find." I opened the ring box. "But then I found you." She was crying. "You became my home." I took a breath. "And I don't want to spend another day without knowing you're going to be there tomorrow. Will you marry me?" She didn't answer immediately. She just stared at me through her tears. Then she whispered, "Yes." I stood up and hugged her. She held me tightly, and against my chest she whispered something I would remember forever. "I'll love you for the rest of my life." I had no idea how painful those words would become. We started planning our wedding. We looked at venues. We chose flowers. We argued about the guest list. We talked about where we'd live. We even started looking at houses outside Boston. Everything felt perfect. Until one night, Olivia didn't come home. It was almost midnight when my phone rang. It was her sister, Emily. Her voice was shaking. "Daniel, you need to come to Massachusetts General Hospital." My heart dropped. "What happened?" "I don't know how to tell you." I drove to the hospital as fast as I could. When I reached the emergency room, I saw Emily standing there. She was crying. "Where's Olivia?" "She had an accident." The words barely registered. I ran down the hallway, and then I saw her. Olivia was lying in a hospital bed. There were machines beside her. Her face was bruised. Her eyes were closed. I grabbed her hand. Olivia? Her fingers moved slightly. Her eyes opened. Daniel? I'm here. She tried to smile. You came. Of course I came. She looked at me. I was scared. I held her hand tighter. You're going to be okay. The doctors later told me she had suffered severe injuries. But that wasn't the worst news. The accident had damaged her spine. There was a chance she would never walk again. I didn't care. I told her we'd figure it out. We'll get through this. She looked at me. You still want to marry me? I couldn't believe she had even asked. Of course. She started crying. I kissed her forehead. Nothing has changed, but something had changed. Not my love, her fear. Over the next few months, Olivia went through rehabilitation. Some days were good, some days were terrible. There were mornings when she couldn't get out of bed. There were nights when she cried because she didn't recognize the person she had become. I stayed. I helped her. I drove her to appointments. I cooked for her. I learned how to make the pancakes she loved. And every time she looked at me and said, "You don't have to do this," I gave her the same answer. Yes, I do. But one evening, everything changed. We were sitting in her apartment. She was looking through our old photographs. Pictures from our first date, our first Christmas, our road trip to Maine, the day I proposed. She smiled at them. Then she started crying. Daniel, what? You need to leave me. I stared at her. What? You heard me. No, you deserve a different life. I want this life. You don't. She wiped her tears. You want a wife who can walk beside you. I moved closer. I want you. You want children. We can have children. You want to travel. We can travel. You want a normal life. I took her hands. You are my normal life. She shook her head. No, Daniel. Her voice broke. I am becoming the reason you don't get to live yours. I didn't know what to say. She looked at me through tears. I love you too much to let you spend your life taking care of me. I pulled her into my arms. You don't get to decide that for me. She cried against my chest. I wish I could stay. You can. I don't know how. I held her tighter. Then we'll learn. For a while I thought we had survived it. We moved forward. We continued planning our wedding. But Olivia became quieter. She stopped talking about the future.
Meow.
She stopped looking at wedding dresses. She stopped talking about the house we wanted. I knew something was wrong. Then one morning, I found an envelope on the kitchen table. My name was written on it. Daniel. I opened it. Inside was a letter. She had written, I know you think loving me means staying, but sometimes loving someone means letting them go. You gave me the best years of my life. You made me feel beautiful when I didn't feel beautiful. You made me feel strong when I was afraid. And you loved me when I thought I was impossible to love. Please don't remember me as the woman who couldn't walk. Remember me as the woman who danced with you in your kitchen at 2 in the morning. Remember the girl who spilled coffee on your coat. Remember the woman who said yes when you asked her to marry you. I loved you then. I love you now. And I will love you until goodbye. But I need you to live. Please, Daniel, don't turn my memory into a prison. I dropped the letter. I couldn't breathe. I searched for her. She was gone. Her apartment was empty. Her sister wouldn't tell me where she was. For weeks I called. No answer. I sent messages. Nothing. I thought I had lost her forever. Then, 3 months later, I received a letter. It was from Olivia. She had moved to California to live with her aunt and continue treatment. She told me she needed a fresh start. She told me she loved me, but she couldn't marry me. Not because she didn't love me, because she loved me too much. Years passed. I never married. I never stopped loving Olivia. But I did what she asked. I lived. I traveled. I built a career. I bought a house. I learned how to be happy again. But every February, I returned to Boston, to the same coffee shop, to the same window, to the same chair where Olivia once saved me a seat. Then one winter morning, my phone rang. It was Emily. I knew immediately. Her voice was quiet. Daniel. I didn't say anything. She passed away last night. The world seemed to stop. I closed my eyes. How long? She had been sick for a while. I couldn't speak. Emily started crying. She asked me to give you something. A few days later, I received another envelope. Inside was a photograph. It was a picture of Olivia and me from our first Christmas together. On the back she had written, some people stay for a lifetime. Some people stay only long enough to change your life. Thank you for being my favorite part of mine. I held that photograph for a long time. Then I cried. Not because I regretted loving her, but because I finally understood. Olivia didn't leave because she stopped loving me. She left because she loved me until goodbye. Years later, I still visit that coffee shop. Sometimes I sit by the window. Sometimes I order 2 coffees without thinking, one for me, one for her, and every time I see an empty chair across from me, I remember the woman who once saved it for me. I remember the snow, the coffee, her laugh, her smile, and the way she looked at me when she said, "I'll love you for the rest of my life." She kept that promise. She loved me for the rest of her life, even when she had to walk away, even when it broke her heart, even when it broke mine. And maybe that's what real love is. Not always staying. Not always getting the happy ending. Sometimes real love is caring enough to let someone live, even when living without them feels impossible. I wanted Olivia to stay. I wanted the wedding, the house, the children, the ordinary life we had planned. But life gave us something different. It gave us a love story that ended too soon, but never really ended. Because every time it snows in Boston, I think of her. Every time I smell coffee, I remember that first morning. And every time I see an empty chair across from me, I still imagine Olivia sitting there, smiling, waiting for me. And if I could go back to that snowy morning and change everything, I wouldn't. Because I would still let her spill coffee on my coat. I would still sit beside her. I would still fall in love with her. And I would still choose her, even knowing that one day I would have to say goodbye. Because some people are worth loving, even when you know you can't keep them forever. Olivia loved me until goodbye, and I will love her long after it.